starting up with Virtue Zone. Do it each and every Thursday, 1 through till 2. Mr. Neil Petch and myself are joined today by two thought leaders in the world of tokenization and digital banking. We've got Ahsan Sharif, the head of corporate business for Zand Bank, here in studio, and alongside it is John Patrick Mullin, who's the CEO and the co-founder of Mantra. Loads of questions coming in from our listeners, so we're going to cut straight to the quick and address a few of those. A lot of people, Ahsan, asking about the digital approach, because as Neil mentioned a little bit earlier on today, one of the big things that Virtue Zone has seen in the past, and one of the big moans they've heard from clients and prospective clients, is banking and getting banking, especially for startups. Unproven, they haven't got the background, they haven't got the account listing, etc. They haven't got all the bits and pieces that the banks would like to see. What's the difference now from a startup point of view when it comes to digital banking and specifically tokenization as well? Why does it appeal to someone setting out on their own?
Yeah, I think from a startup perspective, it's getting a banking service has been a little bit of a trouble here. But I think with the digital banks, we make it much more easier, accessible. The platforms are much more accessible. People can approach, and I think from the overall setup perspective, it's much more easier, cost efficient. You talked about tokenization, and I think that's also a great way for many of the startups to leverage on the blockchain technology. You see, a lot of startups, they're looking to see how they can leverage themselves, especially into the funding rounds, getting into the legal space where they want to see investors coming in, they want to see other partners coming in. And I think tokenization could be one way out where they can do this more efficiently without doing a lot of expenses in terms of your typical processes. So when we talk about tokenization, tokenization of assets really unlocks the liquidity into in your traditional illiquid assets. We're talking about tokenization of financial assets like securities, bonds, shares. We're talking about tokenization of other illiquid assets like real estate, which is one of the biggest illiquid asset class out there. So I think from the startup perspective, a digital bank really understands their requirements. They kind of help them to go through and navigate through the process. And with the products and services, they can really help them reduce the overall cost, unlock the liquidity that they really want to benefit from.
Yeah, let me sell a little bit on behalf of Zand Bank, because apparently it's much more powerful when someone else other than yourself boasts. And Ahsan, you are extremely modest. What the customer hates is just not knowing, is that gray area, what's happening, what's the next stage. The more they don't mind being asked 200 questions if they know what the questions are. It's when they don't know what the questions are and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. And what technology allows us to do is to put all of that key information in a safe and give people access to the key so that they can open it up. So many people in the UAE know their passport number because they've had to fill it out 100 times. Why do you have to fill it out 100 times? If you filled it out in your Virtue Zone application, why should you have to do it again when you go over to Zand Bank? So putting stuff in the blockchain, you hear that term, and a lot of people listening probably turn off, put it in the blockchain, I hear it again. Well, actually, it has a real world application. And if I may, Ahsan, I want to, look, you're sitting here with your hat on representing a very regulated structure. It has to be regulated because one rotten apple can spoil the rest of the barrel. We get that. But if I may, just on behalf of the listeners out there, your personal answer, how is our world going to change in the UAE over the next 12 months because of these technologies and because what Zand Bank are doing?
Well, this is, I think, personally, I am very pro on the new technologies. I think this is the new way. This is the next money, if you may call it. In terms of unlocking potential, one of the more important aspects is how is the overall ecosystem around. UAE has a very robust ecosystem. There's a lot of support coming in from all corners. The government support's coming in. There are partners like Mantra and many other startups and many other established companies which are landing in UAE and they're operating here. So I think the whole ecosystem is thriving. And from my perspective, where I see from the banking side, the regulation and the active players and the active community really is contributing to this dream. I think Dubai especially is having a lot of new startups coming in, and UAE has cemented itself as a very strong player in the global scene, where they're seeing as a more positive, very receptive area to
I mean, let me ask you on this, Ahsan. So we're sitting here right next to the world's most populous country. We're very close to the second most populous country that loves doing trade with the UAE. The most populous country just beat England at cricket. Not very happy about that. But I love the fact that we're here, and politically, the UAE has played an amazing role of being neutral for 50 years, for 60, 70 years, whatever it might happen to be. How does technology and people buying a coffee or sending money to be able to buy a property somewhere else in the world, how do you think, what's the future for us in that respect, efficiency that we were talking about before?
Yeah, I think UAE's, the efficiency you talk about there. So I think from the overall, being a smaller, not that much of a bigger country, but I think the time to react is very important. The way the leadership of the country is really embracing the change, and you see the government level initiatives there, that just sets it apart from many of the other countries that you see around the globe. So I think the embracing of technology, the embracing of agenda, the UAE's digital agenda is where the Zand is really is proud to be a part of, that we are moving that toward that agenda in common goal. And I think that's going to make a huge impact. It's going to put UAE squarely on in the middle of what's happening on the globe around the world.
Going to get more from Ahsan and John in a few moments' time. In fact, both of them have agreed to answer a couple of your questions as well. So if you've got any questions, get them into us now. You can text us on 4001. You can WhatsApp on 048715500. Feel free to send us a voice note on either of those as well, and we can put them to the guys. We are proffering you great advice. UAE's startups out there at the moment. Advice coming through from founders and heads of organisations here. This is Starting Up with Virtue Zone.
Your ARN News.
Good afternoon, I'm Noni Edwards. Fuel prices for March